10 wrestlers banned forever from WWE Hall of Fame. Let's watch.
Wrestlers have been snubbed from the Hall of Fame. Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman's exclusion from the Hall of Fame is a very strange case. The former WWE star made a name for himself in WCW. He started as Flying Brian in 1989 and was one half of the Hollywood Blondes
Oh, wow.
in
Look at Stone
1993.
Cold.
He was even a member of the Four Horsemen with Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Chris Benoit. However, most WWE fans would label his loose cannon persona as the most memorable part of his WCW stint. Pillman would blur the lines between fiction and reality with notable shoot moments that made his character very unpredictable. He would refer to Kevin Sullivan as Booker Man and upset talents like Arn Anderson and Bobby Heenan because he often went off script. Pillman's legacy is tied with WCW and ECW as he was only in WWE for a year before his unfortunate passing, but Pillman made a huge splash during his brief stint in the promotion. One of the most memorable moments in the Attitude Era was when Brian pulled out a gun and threatened Stone Cold Steve Austin with it. Pillman has certainly earned a Hall of Fame placement, so it's a mystery why he hasn't been inducted yet. The only possible reason could be the controversial move that Vince pulled following Brian's death that saw the WWE win the Wrestling Observer's Most Disgusting Promotional Tactic Award, interviewing Brian Pillman's widow just only a day after he passed away. Not surprisingly, the interview was awkward and it seemed like Vince wanted to jump the gun about the circumstances of his death because false rumors spread like wildfire. Well, that is all speculation, but it really is the only thing that would justify why Brian Pillman is yet to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Miss Elizabeth, one of the greatest managers of all time, unfortunately passed away at the young age of 42. Known as the First Lady of Wrestling, Miss Elizabeth was a crucial part of the Macho Man Randy Savage's act. There was a warmth and aura about Miss Elizabeth that instantly made her a likable personality. Her career ended in WWE when they got a divorce in 1992, but she had a resurgence in WCW 4 years later. Miss Elizabeth had a brief reunion with Randy, but quickly turned on him and managed Ric Flair. She had a notable spot on the WCW roster as she was in the Four Horsemen and NWO, but it was a partnership with Lex Luger which would stir up some controversy. Miss Elizabeth and Lex Luger dated in real life and it was a toxic relationship that ended unfortunately in tragedy. Lex Luger became addicted to painkillers and so did Miss Elizabeth. Their world spiraled out of control until one day Miss Elizabeth collapsed and passed away on May 1st, 2003. Miss Elizabeth's family blamed wrestling for her death and didn't want the business to benefit from her. But there have been rumors that the family outright banned her from joining the company's Hall of Fame. There's no telling how true the final statement was, but it does seem that cooler heads have prevailed as Miss Elizabeth was in 2K24. Maybe she'll finally be given the honor that she rightfully deserves. Lex Luger. Coming off the Miss Elizabeth tragedy, Luger's career wasn't the same since. Going back to Luger's days in WWE, there was a point where the former WWE star was primed to replace Hulk Hogan as a top babyface of WWE, but that never panned out because fans never bought Luger as Mr. America. Nevertheless, Luger's biggest success comes from his time in WCW. Luger had a successful stint under the Four Horsemen and his popularity was at an all-time high when he won the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. His WWE run wasn't particularly bad, it just exposed Luger as a bland personality that didn't fit in the main event. Still, Luger made an impact in the business and does deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. However, the death of Miss Elizabeth saw many point the finger at Luger. While no one believes that he killed the First Lady of Wrestling, many feel that Luger enabled her drug addiction. There's also the chance there's heat on Luger because he left the WWE for WCW. When the Four Horsemen were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012, Luger was not included. According to Ringside News, WWE officials opted against including Luger. Luger not being inducted stems from some negativity that surrounds his legacy due to his close relationship with Miss Elizabeth at the time of her death. In 2003, Elizabeth Hulette passed away as a result of a drug and alcohol overdose at the age of 42. Luger had been living with her at the time of her death and was linked to involvement in heavy drug use with her, as well as several documented incidents with the law leading up to her death. While this was never confirmed, it
sounds like some Bobby and Whitney.
Star was snubbed in 2000.
I swear, that kind of sounds like some Bobby and Whitney type shit. Like they just together, you can't even imagine what was probably going on behind closed doors. Like probably like crazy arguments and drugs and crazy arguments and drugs and toxicity and drugs, and that's unfortunate as hell. It definitely sounds like she like got it from him. Like he introduced her to it and they were just locked in after that, because that's a crazy combination, like a relationship and then you're involving drugs in it too. Oh, that's so sad.
2012. Luga has worked in the company in recent years and even made his first television appearance on The Bump in 2003, so his status may have changed with the officials. China. Now we know, China is in the WWE Hall of Fame, but as a member of D-Generation X. But
Oh,
China's
but not
career
as
has
a
more value
single?
than being the bodyguard for the popular faction. She's the first and only woman to
Yeah,
hold the Intercontinental Championship twice. She's the first female to
I
be in a
forgot
Royal
about
Rumble.
that.
The ninth wonder of the world also had a fun story with another WWE legend, Eddie Guerrero. When it comes to China, Triple H explained in 2013 why she wasn't inducted into the Hall of Fame as a solo act. It was ultimately due to China's involvement with adult films. Given WWE's PG image, the reason behind it is sound. China was reportedly fired from Impact Wrestling in 2011 for the same reason. But China didn't buy into the reason that
What?
Triple H
Me
gave on Austin's
neither.
podcast. Given the rocky end to her WWE run, it wouldn't be surprising if China's involvement with adult films wasn't the only reason. It remains questionable whether China will get her solo induction anytime soon. Her beef was with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon as the
Yeah.
WWE power couple linked up while the former was still dating China. Hopefully Triple H has truly turned a new leaf and generally considers giving the ninth wonder of the world a much-deserved solo induction. The Dynamite Kid.
Because aren't there like superstars who pose for Playboy? And not even that, aren't there superstars who have like kind of some risky things out there? Hell, back then in the 80s, I think the 80s and the 70s, I didn't listen before my time, but they were flashing the crowd and you could see panties and all types of stuff. But with China, she can't be inducted because of that. When there's so much stuff out there about all these different wrestlers, that sounds like BS. That sounds very much so personal, and I think that's crap because she's an icon. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I feel like especially today, like now with so much, she should definitely be inducted. Give her flowers. Like, be so for real. That's messed up.
Davey Boy Smith is a name that gets the most recognition in WWE history, even though a good part of the British Bulldog's
That don't even
success was
sound
with the
right. That sounds
Dynamite
very
Kid.
personal.
Thomas Billington, aka the Dynamite Kid, was no slouch in the ring. He may not have had the charisma that Davey Boy did, but he was an exceptional talent who could have been a great mid-carder. Though the Dynamite Kid didn't have much of a career beyond his tag team stint with Davey Boy Smith, his run in Japan and Stampede Wrestling highlighted just how great of an athlete he really was. But the problem with Dynamite Kid was that he wasn't a nice guy behind the scenes. The dark side of the ring covered how much of a menace he was to the roster, and guys like Bruce Pritchard and Jacques Rougeau labeled him as a bully, though the Dynamite Kid has an even worse label on his name, an abuser. The Dynamite Kid once pulled a gun on his wife in front of his children, and thankfully nobody was hurt, but the incident tarnished his legacy and likely put him on the list of names that can never enter the WWE Hall of Fame. King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy came so close to being the next big thing at WrestleMania 2. The former WWE star made waves during his time in WWE and had several notable matches against Andre the Giant and Bam Bam Bigelow. It seemed that Bundy was primed for the main event scene heading into WrestleMania 2, but once he took the loss to Hogan, things were never the same between him and Vince McMahon.
They booed
Like
his
the other
ass.
names on this list, there's no confirmation of whether officials even discussed putting Bundy into the Hall of Fame, but Tommy Dreamer revealed a text message on his House of Hardcore podcast in 2005 that shed some light on the strain between him and Vince McMahon. Hey man, this is not on you. Always been cool and friends with you, so I need you to relay this message to WWE, especially to Vince McMahon. Number 1, you need to tell him that he needs to pay me more and that he owes me. Number 2, unless there's a creative idea for me winning the title, I have no interest in it because he promised me the title when I put over Hulk Hogan and he never delivered, so please go tell him to F himself. Now, it also didn't help that King Kong Bundy filed a lawsuit against WWE in 2016. Unfortunately, Bundy passed away in 2019. Whilst Vince McMahon is no longer in WWE, there's always a chance that Triple H could honor the legacy of the pro wrestler. Psycho Sid. Perhaps the most surprising name on the list is Psycho Sid. The man has an accomplished career spanning across NWA, WCW, and WWE. Psycho Sid was no Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels in the ring, but he had an undeniable charisma that got him over as a huge star. But he also didn't leave the company on the best terms, as he wasn't happy about the outcome of his match against the Ultimate Warrior. Allegedly, Sid was unreliable, but with the rap sheet of some of the names on this list, that's rather tame. The former WWE champion did make a brief return in 2012 by helping Lita beat Heath Slater on Raw's 1000th episode, but that was his last WWE appearance. There are no reports of any backstage heat Sid had with management after his surprising cameo. Now, this could have been a case where Vince McMahon didn't feel it was the right time to put Sid into the Hall of Fame, or maybe he felt that Sid didn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. The former champion himself has stated in the past that he didn't even deserve to be there. He noted his short career and lack of success in WWE as primary reasons. However, he was also a former WWE champion, and champions should deserve the right to be in the Hall of Fame. Ivan Koloff. Oh, we always hear about Bruno Sammartino's historic 8-year title run, but what about the man who beat him? Well, Ivan Koloff's title run didn't last long. In fact, he only held the belt for 21 days. But him beating Bruno Sammartino isn't the reason he should be in the Hall of Fame. Koloff was an excellent heel who was able to generate strong heat. He was a dynamic performer who knew how to work a good match and made waves down in NWA as well. The only point of contention on why Koloff isn't in the Hall of Fame traces back to the lawsuit the company filed in 2015. That lawsuit was reportedly a response to Koloff threatening to sue WWE for concussion-based injuries. The lawsuit was eventually thrown out in 2018, and given how petty Vince McMahon has been known to be, so were Koloff's chances of entering the Hall of Fame anytime soon. Owen Hart. Owen Hart not being in the Hall of Fame will always be a crime against humanity. The former WWE Intercontinental Champion had incredible runs throughout the 80s and 90s as both a tag team and singles competitor. But Owen Hart will likely never be in the Hall of Fame, and it's not the company's fault. Well, at least somewhat. Tragically, Owen Hart passed away at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in May of 1999. He fell to his death as he headed to the ring for his match against The Godfather. Now, the relationship between Martha Hart and the WWE was very troublesome after Owen's death. Martha sued the company for wrongful death, and according to Martha, WWE retaliated by suing her for breach of contract. That resulted in a years-long battle that took a toll on Martha's health. She discussed her legal battle against the company on Talk is Jericho, saying it was the craziest thing because they had in their contract that you could only sue them in Connecticut. It wasn't about Owen's contract, it was totally different, wrongful death lawsuit. But through that process of the lawsuit, they were trying everything and anything to muddy the waters and intimidate me, so they were throwing everything at me. While it's all water under the bridge, as Martha has stated that she's forgiven the company, but she still refuses them to let them induct Owen Hart into the WWE Hall of Fame. There's always been this talk that, oh, we want to put Owen in the Hall of Fame. Their Hall of Fame? They don't even have a hallway of fame. It just doesn't exist. There's nothing. It's a fake entity. There's nothing real or tangible. It's an event they have to make money. They put it on TV and have a celebration, and it's just so ridiculous. We'll never entertain it. It's garbage. It's hard to argue with Martha, as it's understandable why she has much ill will against the company. Things could change in the future, but not right now. And of course, Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit, before this whole tragedy, was a fantastic wrestler and arguably a generational talent. But if WWE ever put him in the Hall of Fame, then it would be an absolute PR nightmare that could ruin their entire business. There's simply no justification for what Benoit did. We can understand that this is a complex subject because Benoit's issues with CT are an important part in the conversation, but at the end of the day, he committed one of the most heinous crimes ever seen in wrestling. So there's simply no way he could ever be in the Hall of Fame. But there you have it, folks.
I feel so sorry for them kids
will never be in the Hall of Fame. Be sure to leave your comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more.
Alright, you guys, that's going to do it for this reaction. Make sure to leave some likes and comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one.